Hi, I'm Robin Hiley. I'm the composer and lyricist for Lifeline.
And I'm Becky Hope-Palmer, and I'm the book writer of Lifeline. And you're listening to Gather by the Ghostlight.
All right, welcome back to Gather by the Ghostlight. I'm Jonathan Cook, your host, producer, and sometimes voice actor on this thing.
And I'm Devon McSherry, the waffle to his pancake.
There she goes again. All right.
I like breakfast.
All right, so today we're going to tell you about a musical that's currently running off-Broadway. It's called Lifeline, and it was inspired by the true life events of the Scottish scientist Alexander Fleming. Now, if that name sounds familiar, it's because he is the scientist that discovered penicillin back in 1928.
Yes, and we were fortunate enough to have an interview with the composer and lyricist Robin Hiley, as well as the book writer Becky Hope-Palmer.
All right, so join us as we have that interview with these fabulous guests. We talk about the development from where it originally premiered at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival to where it is now off-Broadway in New York.
Yes, and you can go listen to their concept album, which just came out, and it's got all of their music on it, so go listen to that and then come listen to the interview.
That's right, the concept album is streaming on Spotify and all the different streaming music services, so definitely check that out. You can also find it on their website, lifelinemusical.com. So when you get a chance, definitely check out all those songs. But first, how about we listen to our interview with these amazing two people?
Climb on a higher through missteps and wake-ups through heartache.
All right, thank you all for joining us. Today we got two amazing guests. They currently have a musical that they created. It's running off-Broadway on 42nd Street in New York. And with us now is the composer of that musical. It's called Lifeline. And this is Robin Hiley. And we also have the writer, Becky Hope-Palmer. Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome, thanks for joining us. So you guys are temporarily in New York while your show performs, but you're from Scotland, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. It's lovely to be an honorary New Yorker for 6 weeks.
So this musical you wrote, it's called Lifeline, and it's inspired by the true life Scottish scientist Alexander Fleming, and he is the person that discovered penicillin in 1928. So can you tell us more about the story in this musical and what inspired the creation of it?
Do you want to go, Becky, or shall I?
Why don't you start us off?
Okay, so I've run a theatre company called Charades Theatre Company in Edinburgh in Scotland for a long time now. We do lots of work in the Fringe Festival, which is biggest arts festival in the world. Very exciting for theatre makers. And I was approached by an infectious diseases doctor, as you are, who knew about our work. And she said, wouldn't it be great to have a show about antibiotics and antibiotic resistance? And I thought this was an interesting idea. But got to reading about Fleming and got to find out more about this big problem that we all don't realize is happening all around us, antibiotic resistance and antimicrobial resistance, and thought there was something in this, and sort of it's grown and grown ever since. Run at the Fringe twice with sellout runs, and we toured it over here in 2022 as well to DC and to Atlanta. And it's been through lots of different levels of development, which I'm sure lots of you guys and lots of your listeners will understand happens with plays that get this far.
Yes.
And here we are. And the show is now not just about Alexander Fleming, but it tells a modern day story too about well, I'll maybe hand over to you, Becky, to talk about that.
Yeah, I think in its current iteration, I think what we realized is that in order to tell that story of AMR and really get that message across and how it's affecting us today, we wanted to mirror Fleming's kind of fight and his stewardship of penicillin and antibiotics in general through a kind of modern eye, which is why we decided to have a kind of second storyline set in Scotland with a kind of a doctor, and she faces a lot of personal and professional issues that have been kind of predicted by Fleming. So yeah, we've really kind of hit that storyline hard to kind of show how Fleming's predictions have kind of come true, sadly, and how people are going about to try and solve that issue.
Yeah, and that's so interesting because I found a quote by Fleming where shortly after winning the Nobel Prize for discovering penicillin, he said in an interview, "The thoughtless person playing with penicillin treatment is morally responsible for the death of the man who succumbs to infection with the penicillin-resistant organism." So I think basically he's saying, yeah, it's beneficial, but overuse, he's like cautioning, this can get dangerous. And I really... I think you guys are really onto something. That sounds like a really cool story, and the way you have the two different timelines. One takes place in the future, so you see the stakes in place and the outcome of what Alexander Fleming predicted. So writing the two different storylines and making them interweave, what was the challenges in doing that when writing the story?
It took a lot of thought. I think at the beginning, we already we knew we had a rough structure of Fleming's life and the kind of moments in his life that we knew we wanted to use. So it was sort of building a modern storyline to kind of go alongside that, but we kind of tell it in a non-linear fashion. So we go backwards in Fleming's life to begin with, as Jess, the doctor's story, goes forward, and then we kind of flip it in the second half and do the opposite. And we found that was the kind of most effective way of finding moments of merging in both of their lives, and where the kind of the arc of both their stories and the challenges that they faced kind of interweave at the same point on stage, even though their timelines are going in different directions. So when we first, we've merged the scenes a lot more than we had originally. They were kind of more blocked scenes, and then we've kind of literally put them together, which has proved quite interesting, and it kind of keeps the pace going when we kind of jump from one to the other really quickly. And certainly in music as well, it's really exciting to see how those two worlds collide musically in the same moment.
So obviously, with this show, it deals with a lot of heavy issues. It talks about Fleming in the war and cancer and all the problems that come along with healthcare. But I feel like starting your show with Climb On and then ending it with that like little bit of reprise of Climb On really leaves it as a hopeful message. Was that intentional, or did you just like, yes, this came together perfectly, happy accident?
Yeah.
No, it was. Believe it or not, it was intentional.
Good. Yeah.
Nice.
We're aware that we're telling some difficult stories, maybe some hard truths, and have been very keen to find the joy that there is, and the hope that there is, particularly with the real life scientists and healthcare professionals that we put on stage alongside our West End cast. So no, absolutely. And I think it's probably something that we still want to work on even more, isn't it, Becky?
Yeah.
Making it as hopeful as possible, but not shying away from telling it as it is.
The harsh realities, yeah.
Now, the musical, it premiered at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. You mentioned that earlier. Let's talk about the developmental process, which actually, from what I've heard of all Fringe festivals, I've heard that Edinburgh is the one that is the biggest, because there's Fringe festivals everywhere, but I've heard Edinburgh is fantastic, and you guys had sold out audiences, so that's very awesome. Mm-hmm. But when it originally premiered, it had a different title. It was called The Mould That Changed the World. And I think even Becky, you weren't the original writer. So at what point did you come in developing through all the different productions and doing some research and learning and gathering these personal stories from people to help you sculpt the final product. At what point did you come in to kind of get these final revisions on it to give us Lifeline, which is now in New York off-Broadway?
Yeah, I got involved not long after that second Fringe production, after they toured it to DC and Atlanta. So I think, when I originally met with Rob, the kind of overall thought was that the message was super important, and I'd heard some of the music and loved it, and I didn't know anything about AMR at the time, so it was really intriguing to me. And I think, with any project, as long as you've got that hook and you have that interest and you kind of have an idea in your head about how you can help, that's sort of all you need. And Robin and the team are brilliant. So it was always something that I wanted to be involved with somehow. And I think once we kind of began shaping the new version, it was always clear that the medical chorus and the true, all of the stories in the show are based on truth. Certainly the contemporary storyline has come from members of that medical chorus community that Rob and the team have built over the years. So we had a lot of people that we could reach out to, professionals, our infectious diseases expert, Dr. Megan Perry, who was the one that came to Robin originally with the idea. So they've always been on hand to offer anecdotes and stories to kind of form the show. So we always I always had outlets of information and places to go, as well as reading a lot and having all that research to hand. With the chorus and with the stories from the medical professionals, that took a little bit of structuring and finding the right stories to interweave with our main story. So you kind of hear about these other patients through the eyes of the people treating them. So they're kind of interweaved into the narrative too, and they all have a kind of similar arc, and you kind of get to know those patients along with Aaron, who is our kind of main patient in the show. It was a really fun challenge. I think that's one of the strongest parts of the show, and something I'm very proud of, being able to take responsibility for those stories and for true stories and be able to tell them sensitively. I've really enjoyed the challenge.
Yeah, we didn't have any of them in before. Okay. It used to, when it was called The Mould That Changed the World, it was kind of like a biopic of Fleming, if you like, stroke potted history of penicillin.
Okay.
And it's the first iteration in 2018 was sort of a through composed 50-minute long mad thing of this is what happened to penicillin and how we started to misuse it, even just in Fleming's lifetime, or the short time, or a few years after his death. And then we sort of expanded that in 2022, but always used this model of a scientist and healthcare professional chorus performing alongside our prose, with the sort of overarching sentiment that this is their story to tell, and we're giving them a voice to do so. But it became very clear in 2022 that they were so much the heart of the project and the heart of the play that we needed to change things to sort of shout about them as well as shout about the issue, because they are the hope. You're talking about hope; they are the hope. Mm-hmm. And secondly, we needed to tell a story about what was happening now, rather than having Fleming look into the future and making the great background research, by the way, to be able to pull that Fleming quote. Enjoyed that.
We use it directly in the show as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And you're right. Fleming predicted it. He predicted when he got his shared Nobel Prize. He predicted that this was going to happen. but rather than just having Fleming in the show being worried about what's going to happen in the future, like we show what's going to happen in the future, like it's so much more powerful. So yeah, Becky's been absolutely pivotal in turning this thing into something that could even dream of coming to off-Broadway.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I feel like that chorus really helps connect the show to the audience, because it's really easy to like look at a story from a man 100 years ago and be like, oh, that's interesting. But then if you bring it to people and to their community and show people from their community and how it connects to them, I feel like it really makes the story real and connect.
Right. And since the beginning, the chorus you mentioned, you have actual real scientists come on stage and join the cast. Are you still doing that even in New York with the New York performance as well?
That's right. We auditioned. We were here in July, I think it was. And we auditioned about 150 of them.
Oh, nice.
And 60 or 57 or something got through. Amazing talent, like people who have chosen a career in science but could easily have, been an actor or a singer. Mm-hmm. And we have a new 12 on every week.
Wow.
Wow.
At Signature. So we're on week 3 now of this limited run.
That's quite a commitment to retrain each cast every week.
Yeah, so we sort of had a catch-all, like big rehearsal session or rehearsal week before the run began, and then the week one chorus went on, and then followed suit, and we sort of top everybody up on a Sunday night to make sure they can remember where they've got to go when. But they've been utterly amazing, haven't they, Becky?
Yeah. The community. I mean, it's great. I'm in their WhatsApp group, and the stuff popping off on there is amazing. They and they keep sharing science articles as well. So beyond everything else. So I'm getting all my AMR knowledge, now through the WhatsApp group, through all their knowledge. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you have to continually update and alter the script with all the new information you get? I mean, that's kind of what science is you're constantly learning new information.
Yeah, I mean, it will never be completely up to date because things, things will change, so quickly. But we certainly they were very helpful when we first got here and we were rehearsing their parts. There were tiny tweaks that were really used, having that many medical professionals say, oh, this thing might be easier to be said like this and da. So, I mean, that kind of stuff was really helpful. Cool. Going into the start of the show. Yeah.
There's also a bit of a translation between British English and American English as well.
As usual.
There's one bit where Becky it's in the middle of the song called Mr. X, You Are Next, which sort of like sums up this pressure on the doctor, the pressure that patients put on the doctors to prescribe antibiotics, even if they don't need them. And there's this little monologue where Becky has the lead, Jess, going to the toilet to splash her face with water. And that's what we would say in Britain, but of course here it means you're going to a toilet bowl.
Yeah, okay. So I was actually listening to this with my 7-year-old son, and he heard that part, and he was like, "What? They put toilet water on their face?" I'm like, I think that just means they went to the bathroom and used the sink.
Yeah, it was on the recording. We have the amazing Ariel Jacobs on the recording, and because she's American, she says toilet in an American accent, whereas in the show, in my defense, in the show, Kirsty, our actor, who is Scottish, says it in a Scottish accent, which sounds slightly less bizarre than
Speaking of the concept album, that's something you recorded independently, I guess, and now it's been released and people can stream it on Spotify. They can go to the website and listen to all the music.
Apple Music.
I gotta tell you, one of my personal favorites is the "Come On" reprise. I love the two actors, the duet they do. It's beautiful.
Awesome.
It's great.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we released it on Broadway or Center Stage Records, it's now called, who are based here in New York. And yeah, it's got some friends from Broadway, which was very exciting to work with people like aforementioned Ariel Jacobs and Aaron Lazar and Jay Armstrong Johnson. So you can hear these Broadway stars singing some of these songs, and then we've got a bunch of the original cast singing on it as well, and a bunch of sort of Scottish trad musicians and stuff. So it's quite a nice melting pot and shows the sort of like UK US collaboration that this project has been for the last sort of like three or 4 years. Yeah.
I love all the music. It's very, very Scottish sounding. As a composer, how many different instruments do you play? And where are you on the recordings on the tracks, or did you have like sets of musicians with you?
Yeah, no, I'm playing all of the guitars on the recording. Yeah. I'm a guitarist first and foremost. And that's the only instrument that I play particularly well. I like use the piano as a writing tool and play other things like the mandolin and the violin and other bits and pieces. Not very well. But yeah, cool. No, it's great. Yeah.
So you have your West End cast performing currently. So those Broadway stars who are on the recording are not the ones who are currently performing? Correct.
We thought actually because this, particularly the modern day story is set in Scotland, and it's sort of, it's about three Scottish friends who grew up together. We were quite keen to showcase Scottish talent, particularly in it, and as the way the industry is in the UK, the only way to get really good Scottish talent is go to London to audition them, which is ridiculous, but it's the way things are. So yeah, we've got lots of amazing Scottish singer actors in the show, which is really exciting to be here and be able to give them all that opportunity to come to off-Broadway. We've got a lot of excited people in the cast, don't we, Becky?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We do. Yeah. They're brilliant.
Yeah. You co-founded the Charades Theatre Company, and you're the artistic director. Do you still have a significant role in Charades Theatre Company, even though you're out and about in New York and all that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is a Charades production.
Nice. Okay.
And yeah, it sort of started a long time ago. Me and a good pal of mine started it because we used to be touring in a band and we needed a day job, and we did a bunch of like loads and loads of outreach work with schools. We used to write these little short musicals where sort of like 3 or 4 artists would go and perform with a bunch of school kids. So we there's been a lot of sort of 10-year-olds, ironically, who we could now potentially be employing to be in the cast all these years later.
Oh, nice.
Who've sung, yeah. We had one show about Burke and Hare, the Edinburgh Body Snatchers, which was a particular favorite with all the boys who didn't really want to do musical theatre when they were 10, but being able to sing about blood and guts made things a bit easier. So yeah, Charades has been going on for a long time, and yeah, we're now we have been for quite a while now a Scottish charity. So we particularly trying to particularly focus on things that have a sort of pertinent social message, which this one has been the one that's grown the biggest.
Gotcha. And Becky, I saw that you do a lot of directing work, and you have also previously written a show called 7 Against Edinburgh. So when you're not working on this show, are you still directing other things? Are you working on other shows? What are you up to?
Yeah. I'm predominantly a director, actually. That's my bread and butter. That's how I pay the bills. And I love it. Writing. Yeah, 7 Against Edinburgh was my first show with songs, kind of musical that I wrote myself. And that was also kind of slightly science-based. It was about the first 7 women that studied medicine in Edinburgh, and a lot of people weren't very happy about that. So it made for a great drama. with some sort of 80s rock inspired songs to go alongside it.
Fun.
So yeah, I think that was the kind of clincher, and probably how Robin even knew that I could put pen to paper. But it's been a great learning curve writing these shows, but having a kind of directing background certainly helped, I think. And I will be once we get back to Scotland, I'll be back into that when we get back.
Nice. All right, so the show opened August 28th, and it's been running, I guess, a couple of weeks now. So what has the feedback been like with the New York audiences?
I think we found our audience now, actually. Like I mean, we haven't not had a show with a standing ovation at the end,
nice.
Which has been really great. I think, like, you know, there's been a few comments come in, sort of perhaps going on a Saturday night expected to see 6, and then being sort of like barraged with this, you know, with all these home truths and everything. Like, but I think very quickly we've found our audience, and there's been lots of amazing welcome from friends and family of the chorus as well, which has been lovely. So all in all, it's been a very positive experience, and we've got loads of different meetings with producers who are interested in helping us take the show forward and stuff like this. So yeah, we've and such has been the timing of it to coincide with this big important meeting that's happening at the UN. So I'll explain a little bit more. So every year they obviously have the United Nations General Assembly here in New York and down on First Avenue. And for the second time, the high level meeting that all the heads of state come at the end of the United Nations General Assembly to a particular high level meeting concerning something that's of real global significance. And for the second time, AMR, the problem that the show is all about, is the subject of this meeting. And that is particularly why we chose this month to be here and to be running. And we actually have a bunch of heads of state and important people who shall remain nameless who are potentially coming to see the show, which is very exciting.
Invite everybody.
That's cool.
Super cool.
So we've sort of really pushed hard with our development to try and be ready to be here, and I think when the show goes up again after this, we might make some minor little tweaks and everything, but all in all, the reception has been we've loved it, and thank you so much for being such a welcoming bunch to this motley crew of kilt-wearing Scots.
Awesome. Good.
So the show, it seems like it initially started as the message being an awareness of AMR, the antimicrobial resistance. But it seems like with adding in the future storyline, you're giving the whole story more meat to it, something that even people that aren't really into the science of it, they can go and see an intriguing story and be interested and enjoy the musical while also learning something with this awareness model that you put into the play itself.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think what we found is actually people are understanding it more quickly than we thought they would in terms of in our narrative, and that's our learning. It was great to know that people are getting it sooner in the narrative than we thought. So we have tried to simplify it as much as possible from a science point of view. I think we can probably, we reckon we could probably do even more of that now, because people are getting it. But I think the heart of it are those characters and the kind of humanity of people and of family and of relationships and of friendships. And that's the thing that I think people connect to, right? And everyone we've had so many people come and see the show and have said how much it reminds them of certain things that have happened to them or people they know. So so I think that's the thing that's really getting people, and it's really reminding them of their own experience by kind of zoning in on particular relationships within the show.
Very cool. Yeah. So as far as the development goes, I know some of the writing and the story kind of evolved. But as far as the music, has the music always been the same since the beginning to now? Or have you added in extra songs, taken out some things that weren't working? Or how did that work on your end?
Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff that's fallen by the wayside. Like it's quite hard sometimes, especially because we added in this modern storyline, and we needed the music, particularly from that side of things, to reflect a sort of more contemporary sound. So the way it sort of turned out is the kind of Scottish traditional sort of melody instruments, for want of a better way to describe them, like the fiddle and the sort of piper's whistle and the pipes. They are the thing that are really straddling the two timelines. And when you come to see the show, you'll hear that the modern day timeline is far more of a sort of like acoustic guitar driven country pop type sound with the sprinkling of Scottish on top. And then the Fleming line is more of a sort of legit musical piano driven sound, again with the Scottish fairy dust on top sort of thing. So and as we merge the two timelines, I try to, whether or not I succeed, I'm not sure, but I try to bring these sounds more and more together to the point that by the end of the show, it's kind of all, it's merged like the timeline is. And yeah, quite a lot of stuff because obviously it used to be a 2-hour show that was just about Fleming. Like half of that material's gone to make room for the new stuff. And then also because a lot of the structure of the show has completely changed. It used to just be sort of a linear timeline of Fleming's life. A lot of the songs have changed by necessity because they were they were kind of obsolete, no longer did what we need them to do. And actually, as a writer, it's almost easier to start from. And I quite like it, actually. I feel it. I find it quite freeing to just be like, right, no, we're done with that one. It's actually easier to try and start again rather than trying to retrofit something into a new scene. And actually, I think Becky and I have talked about this quite a few times. That the strongest material now is the material that has been written completely new for it. Because it serves the scene, serves the story the best.
Nice.
Gotcha.
All right, so you mentioned possibly putting some more tweaks to this after you finish your New York run. What other ideas do you have anything else like on the horizon that you're maybe thinking of? All right, this is gonna be my next musical. Do you have anything cooking up in your head?
Well, we've been talking, haven't we, Becky? We've got a few ideas. I'm not sure anything that we're quite ready to put a stake in the sand next to.
Fair.
But yeah, we're
I hear
sort of, quietly exploring it, especially now that this is mostly done.
Mm-hmm. But you still have a couple more weeks of performances, correct?
That's right. We're still 2.5 weeks left, so there's still an opportunity for your listeners to come.
We're gonna
come and have a watch. Yeah,
and it sounds like you guys are possibly working again together in the future, so this whole little collaboration didn't burst up into flames or anything. You guys are still on good terms, so
no, very much. Well, yeah,
there's still time.
Certainly from my perspective, Becky, I don't like
you. Yeah, likewise. Yeah, he's had me in his house too much now, I think, to not have me about.
Maybe a little separation period is necessary.
All right. So the show is called Lifeline. It's currently running through September 28th at the Alice Griffin Jewel Box Theater on 42nd Street. Anyone in the New York area, go out, check out this musical. It's created by these amazing people we're talking to now. I can't wait to see where this thing goes because I can tell you guys are really passionate about it, and I know you're getting a lot of positive feedback from all these productions, and It's cool. I love seeing this.
Yeah,
in this
and
development process.
I definitely learned a lot just listening to the album and researching for our interview and everything. So I think it's really cool how you're getting the message out there. So.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been such a pleasure to meet you.
You too.
All you guys out there, thank you so much for listening, and many thanks to our guests, Robin Hiley and Becky Hope-Palmer, for joining us on this episode. Their musical Lifeline is currently still running in New York through September 28th, so if you happen to live in New York or you're going to be in the New York area before then, go check out this new musical, and you can find more info about all of it on their website, lifelinemusical.com. And while you're on the page, you can even check out all the music from the show, and you'll hear tracks just like the one that you are currently hearing in the background. Our intro music is provided by artist JK47. And if you enjoy this podcast, maybe you're a longtime listener, or maybe this is the first episode you've ever heard, let us know. Leave us a rating or a review in all the places that you can. That kind of activity, it really does help us grow, and it helps more people like you discover this podcast. And also be sure to follow us on social media to stay up to date on new episodes. And also subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want more video content, because we are filming every episode we release. So not only can you hear it, but you can also go see the full video on our YouTube channel. I'm Jonathan Cook, and as always, stay safe, and I'll see you next time we gather by the ghost light.
All of these questions, they make me